Welcome back, folks, to HBA Conversations and Connections. A special thank you to this year's sponsor, Ogilvy Health. When healthcare impact is your goal, let Ogilvy Health be your partner. Okay, so a couple of things that now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of round out our discussion before we hop off the call for the day. A couple of questions, things that really moved me when we spoke. Like I said, I've learned a ton from you in addition to, the ellipsis and exclamation marks and punctuation, which, by the way, was mind blowing for me. I got off the phone that day with you gals, and I called one of my mentors and I told them about this. They happen to also be really involved in DE&I space and leadership. And I told them and they had no clue either, which really, it sort of shocked me. And at our organization where I work, they recently had an entire session on generational gaps. I'm going to say, I don't remember the exact title, but teaching about how to sort of, span the differences of different generations. So I thought of you gals when that happened. But there are a couple of things that moved me. That was one of them. The second thing was, Alexia, you had said something that really just stuck with me then, and particularly where I find myself these days. You had said, someone just needs to take a chance on you. And I thought that was just really poignant. And so I'm wondering, obviously you must have learned that from some experience in your life. And so was there a pivotal kind of moment where someone took a chance on you, and how did that influence you and your career?
Yeah, so I'd say in my most current role, I would consider that hiring manager just
Mm,
took a chance on me because, I mean, I didn't have regulatory experience in particular, like in pharma, necessarily. Like I was in regulatory, but I didn't have really direct skills. So I feel like now a lot of the times too in the job market these days, you really have to show, okay, maybe I don't have like all the boxes checked, but how can I show somehow that I'm able to do this job? Like I didn't do this job before, but I have the tools to complete this job. So I think a lot of the times I'm not in HR. Okay. I don't know how people like pick resumes and how they pick people for interviews, but
Probably AI
um,
these days is my guess.
well, I've had some experience with those AI talent acquisition things too. But I think that it's just really important for someone to look at a resume and say, okay, they don't have like all the check boxes, right? But I can see how they've learned skills that can be transferred to this job. And maybe it's not just previous experiences they've had. Maybe it's also volunteer work they've done that, like, oh, maybe, they haven't done this in the work space before, but maybe a leadership role that they've had outside of work can help them in this job. So I think just someone really taking a chance on you is super important, especially when you're first out of university
Mhm.
and you don't have all of that like skill or I guess experience in a specific industry, for example, that you can leverage when you're out of university just off of internships. Like, what are you able to leverage? Like, you have some leverage for sure. You can pick pick some things here and there, but it's really hard when I think, as Paige was saying earlier, like there were so many senior roles, and there was not really too many of those like entry level intermediate roles
Mm.
when applying for jobs. So it's like, how am I supposed to apply for a senior level role, but I'm out of university? So someone just really needs to say, okay, this person may not have ABC, but I think they can do the job and I'm going to give them that chance. And that's changed my whole entire life because I had to move for this
Mhm.
position. And I mean, I'm super happy about it and really loving it right now. So it has completely changed the trajectory of my career and life. I'm not really sure where I would have been if that person didn't say yes to me and give me the opportunity to work for AstraZeneca. I'm not really sure. I'm sure I would be still trying my best to get into the pharma industry. I'm not sure how long it would have taken, maybe still another couple of months or even a year more, who knows. But yeah, just super, super grateful for getting the opportunity to be where I really wanted to end up.
You gave them a reason though, right? That they took the chance on you. When you
Yes,
had said
yes.
that, I had thought when you had said that statement about someone just needs to take a chance on you, it's amazing how we have emotional memory of milestones, right? I immediately went back to when Claude Cormier, my first manager in pharma in Nova Scotia, hired me out of umpteen resumes that came in, and I will always remember that and be thankful of him making that choice to introduce this wonderful career that I've had. And so I think that everybody should take the leap and take chances. Did you have anything to add on that page, or I've got a cool one for you?
I'll take my own special question, please.
Okay, perfect. This one I know is
No.
this one I know is near and dear to your heart. So, and it is also near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
So, and it didn't come up in any of the other questions we've talked about. So, look, we are both very passionate about the DE&I space, and I know that in today's environment, that is, you know, could be more the geopolitical challenges, and may have changed viewpoints on this to some degree, but not mine, and I know not yours. So look, you had said what I loved about what you said. When you said this, I sat back and thought, wow, this I want to say kid. I say that not very colloquially, not because you're a kid. I know that's, but you really, it was so astute. You said that you're passionate about DE&I, but you're more passionate about action. And you made a statement about how we have many great conversations that don't turn into action. And you're focused on the so what and the when and the how, and how can we make meaningful change. So I'm open to any thoughts you have to share in that area.
Thank you for bringing this up because it is something I'm extremely passionate about. I have been on the DE&I work stream within my department at AstraZeneca for about a year now, and it has been so rewarding because it really has been my first experience trying to influence change in a diverse environment. Previously, so with HBA, we are all like-minded. We are all women who are passionate about advancing women in the business of healthcare.
And
When I
allies.
volunteer
And
and
allies.
allies,
And allies, very important. Allies are so important.
of course. And when I volunteer for Pride, I am volunteering with other LGBTQ individuals. And you know, working within my organization on DE&I is really the first time that I've influenced change in a diverse environment, is what I'm saying.
Hmm.
We have all ages, we have all races, and we have all kinds of life experience and different perspectives, and everyone is passionate about different things. And so the challenge then becomes how to have a conversation where we share our different perspectives. We learn about all the different things that we're passionate about, our different backgrounds, our different cultures, our different religions, but actually turn that into how does my day-to-day at work change now that I have this information?
Mhm.
Am I more sensitive when talking about a particular thing that I didn't know was a problem before? Is there a word that I'm removing from my vocabulary? Is there a way that I can elevate voices that are previously being not feeling like they have a seat at the table? And that's what I mean by action, because we can have these great conversations. We can all be vulnerable. We can all step outside our comfort zone. But I think where people really feel empowered to be an ally to those marginalized groups that they're not a part of is when they walk away with an action. What can I do differently? And so the way that I think about DE&I leadership has changed. I'm really always trying to think about it from that team perspective of in a team sport, they always say you're only as strong as your weakest player. So
Absolutely.
your DE&I workshop is only going to be as good as the person in the room who knows absolutely nothing. What do they get to walk away from this? What do they get to take from this? And so anytime I'm doing that work, That's what I'm thinking about, is the person that might be left behind by some of these initiatives because they don't feel included or because they don't understand, they don't have the language, they're not as immersed in it as some of us who are passionate about DE&I. So how do I make sure that what we're doing and what we're trying to do is accessible to them?
It's a great answer. I'm sold. I'm sold. I was already pre-sold, but I'm sold. Yeah, I look forward to many more discussions with you about that because about this topic because I think you have a lot to bring to the table and a lot of insight. So I should have asked you this question earlier when we were talking about punctuation and all the things you helped me learn about what I'm not supposed to write to people because no joke. Look, anybody who knows me knows that I get, I'm trying to think of the word. I don't want to say hypersensitive, but I'm very conscious of never wanting to offend or hurt someone else. And so I know that words matter and language matters. And so even the certain words I really reflect on, and I might go like a little overboard to the other extreme of being too conservative about things, you know. So when you gals talk to me about the punctuation thing, I went off on a tangent for about a month about that, okay? Like, and I'm very conscious now whenever I think about it, when I'm texting my kids, I'm purposefully not using punctuation with them, right? Anyway, you had, let's talk about generational gaps. And this is the last question before we close out. So do you have any ideas about how, leaders, peers, and early in career young professionals can really work together to bridge those generational gaps to make a more inclusive environment for everyone? I'll throw it out to whoever feels that they want to say something.
So I once had a manager who realized that anytime there was a team announcement and she dropped 15 minutes in our calendar to tell us that someone got a new role or they were leaving the organization, she was managing a team of like 15 early in career, kind of like mid to late 20s individuals. We would panic, like complete panic about what was going on, and work would stop. Like she would drop those 15 minutes and it would immediately be everyone chatting each other on the side, like, do you know what's going on? Do you know what's going on? Do you know what's going on? And
I'm
so
not
instead
so
of
sure
just
that's
taking
only
team,
your generation, the generation with which you label yourself, because I
maybe
also feel
not.
that way when I see those 15-minute non-descriptive titles. So
100%. But to your point about punctuation
yeah, tell me about
and
that.
how we've developed a different, so Alexi and I's generation have grown up with technology. And so we've developed our own like etiquette for
Language.
what our own language, yes,
Yeah.
but also like manners where you can share via punctuation. You can be polite, you can be rude, you can be passive aggressive, you can be excited, like all over. You really are trying to convey your tone. And so my manager learned this and she started putting team update, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face at the end of the invitation so that we would know that it was a positive update.
Yeah.
And there's always a little bit like of chatting on the side, but there was less anxiety and there was less panic because she was conveying it in our tone and was trying to adopt our etiquette of sending a message where if you're saying something that's like might be a little bit concerning to the recipient, you soften it with an exclamation mark or a smiley face so that they know that it's not bad and that you're not mad and it's all going to be okay. And so I think that when it comes to bridging generational gaps, and I'm going to circle it back, is it's really about just understanding the other person's point of view as much as you possibly can. So I think for you, when we told you that ellipses are passive aggressive, that was like mind blowing. But you came about it from a perspective of I want to learn what it's like to receive a message with an ellipses behind it. And so I think it just comes from that place of wanting to understand one another a little bit more. You know, are you coming from a place of efficiency of communication, or if they're coming from a place of clarity of communication and really trying to understand the person that you're working with a little bit better. And if we come at any conversation with that intention, I think it's going to have a good result where you understand one another better and you build another little piece of that bridge so that we can just come together as colleagues.
The intention is key for sure. And I always have the best of intentions, which
Yeah.
I think comes across. I called every person
Mhm.
that I knew that is not in my generation and is in yours. And I apologized if I had offended them in any way about my communication. And I picked their brain because I really felt bad. I really thought that I was, being horrible. So look, we're gonna close out with a couple of. I feel like that is a topic in itself that you could talk about for a zillion years. But a couple of last questions here. So for the listeners today who are, there are definitely folks, hopefully, that are of your vintage that we are trying to reach and communicate more with as HBA, and from a community perspective. For those folks out there that are listening, who are, trying to find their place and work their way in navigating through not necessarily only career in life sciences, but just in general, what first steps would you have to recommend that they take that they can start today?
I'll go ahead and answer that one. I think for me, like the one thing that keeps coming back to me is that you just need, I don't like, you just need to put yourself out there, and it's going to be really uncomfortable, probably for some people, it's more uncomfortable than for other people, to just put yourself out there and make those connections, network. I know everyone's saying, oh, you have to network, but it's not just a numbers game in terms of like going on LinkedIn and just like sending hundreds of messages to anyone. It's really important to foster those connections, join those professional working groups, volunteer, really be able to connect on a deeper level with those people that if you're interested in something that someone's doing, don't just say, oh, hey, can we have a chat? And then never follow up. I think it's really important to foster those connections with intention, instead of just blindly messaging people, because then nothing will ever come out of that. And I think also just don't worry about failing or looking dumb by, you know, volunteering to do something or messaging a new person. I know it is like super scary and can be kind of intimidating to put yourself out there and do something that you've never done before. But again, back to the topic of, doing yourself a disservice by telling yourself before even trying, like, oh, I'm going to fail. Oh, I can't do that. There's no way. Like, you can do it. And it's very likely that you will excel as well. It's just, you just have to put yourself out there and try. So I'd say, yeah, just to go to those networking events, talk to people, really nurture those connections, and something will come out of it for sure. Whether that's, it might not be a job, but it could be a connection that could help you in the future. It could be a mentor, it could be a sponsor, it could be an ally, a coach. Something positive is going to come out of really just putting yourself out there, because if you don't, then nothing will change. Opportunities will not fall into your lap, as I've learned. So go get those opportunities.
Great words of advice. Any thoughts, Paige?
The thing is as Alexi is talking, I'm having a million thoughts because she's saying so many good things, and then when it's my turn,
You freeze.
I
Yeah,
can't
I
remember.
get it. I'm putting you
I
on the spot.
freeze.
It's
Yeah.
all good.
No, that's all good. I'm reminded sometimes that we are subject to like a recency bias. And so I think that we if something happens really recently, or if it happens multiple times in recent memory, it becomes your current belief of this is how things are. So if you are getting rejected from jobs over and over and over again, you're going to feel like I'm always getting rejected. But if you just widen your lens, like just a little bit to the last few years instead of the last few weeks, you'll be reminded of how far you've come. And I think it's really important to take that step back as often as you need to remind yourself that you can and have and will continue to achieve your goals and overcome obstacles. And then in addition to that, I think any new information is good information. If it's something that you don't like, if you tried something, you put yourself out there, you got a summer internship, you hated it, that is still good information. If you take the time to reflect on it and be like, why exactly was that not for me? That's good information. Even if it feels like a negative experience, it's going to help you turn it into something positive in the future. So don't be afraid to sit with your thoughts, journal about it, talk, phone a friend, talk it out, and take any experience and help it shape you into the person that you're becoming and help you keep that momentum going in a positive way onto the next thing. And then yeah, just echoing a lot of what Alexia said about don't be afraid to put yourself out there, don't be afraid to ask dumb questions. You can't you can't be anyone other than who you are. So if you're gonna if you
So
are
true.
gonna ask a dumb question, like, oh well, like that's where you're at, and you want this piece of information that might seem trivial or common sense to someone else, but it's not for you, and you can't help that. So just own it. And like I said previously, we've all been there. And if you're talking with someone who is going to be a good support to you, they will remember that.
Such wise words. You know, there's a colleague who I don't like to say I mentor them because I feel like I learned just as much from her as I'm sure she learns from me. And she happens to also be on the line right now, listening in. And I will say she has taught me so much about putting myself out there and just being me. And look, all of you on the line today are so. I can't believe how wise you are. Like if I was as wise as you when I was, starting out in my career as a group initially, when we hung up the call, I was speaking with our HBA colleague who, is at the stage of their career that I'm at, and we were astounded by how many similarities there were to what you gals had shared with us and to what we feel and what we think. And so I think it's really interesting that there definitely is generational gaps, no doubt, nobody's denying that. But I thought it was really interesting that despite the differences, there was a lot of commonality. And so, I hope that, well, you two in particular, but all of us on the line, I hope you are in my club of, I'm hoping you're going to continue on these conversations with me because I learned so much from you and it enriches my professional life and my personal life. So I'm hoping we can continue on with that. And so, are there any last words before we say farewell to the listeners?
I wanted to add one more thing as well, back on that. Um, so another thing that it kind of ties everything together and also has to do a little bit with, the generational differences. I find, I don't know if this is a situation for more senior individuals or maybe if it's more prevalent for more early in career, but I find that it is really, really easy to get lost in all of the bombardment of information and like I guess new um, jobs that people are getting on LinkedIn and just comparing yourself really easily with social media and everything. Just
How could we
for
not talk
example,
about that? Are you kidding? We didn't talk about that at all.
Yeah,
That's so true.
yeah, I just wanted to add
FOMO.
that real quick
Yeah.
because I thought it was really, really important. Just because I'm finding myself even now, like not I mean, this is bad. I'm aware that this is bad behavior, but I find myself not proud of where I am because I'll open my phone and someone is like not doing the traditional route of working in corporate, but is making millions of dollars, like traveling the world. I'm like, oh, well, that would be nice if I could do that. Or, or even, or even like someone who is in the corporate kind of space, who is super young, but is somehow like almost at director level or associate director level, just saying, oh, wow, I just got a promotion, but that person over there got an even better one. So the promotion I just got is kind of useless. And I mean, that's not true at all. But I find that especially our generation nowadays wants to go get ahead really, really fast. And if we're not doing
Mhm.
it really, really fast, we feel inadequate.
Mm.
And it's just really easy to get lost in all the social media of it all and just seeing everyone doing these amazing things. And you're like, well, I guess what I'm doing is kind of not as good. So I think just being able to step back and realize when you're having those thoughts is really important and just say, okay, I'm really proud of where I've come so far. You know, I'm better off now where I was 5 years ago. You know, if I was thinking back to like when I was starting university, for example, and that young 18-year-old found out that I was working for AstraZeneca now, her jaw would be like on the floor. So I just have to think back to kind of my younger self and to just kind of like reorganize my thoughts and say, okay, you know what? Let's not look at what other people are doing and get too involved and too in my head about what that person is doing, like on social media, where that person got promoted on LinkedIn. Just focus really on myself and what I've accomplished and what I'm doing right now and how I can better myself in the near future. Just not get too caught up in that.
I'm really
Yeah.
glad you brought that up,
Wise words.
Alexia. My grandmother always reminds me that comparison is the thief of joy. She's a wonderful woman that is just full of all kinds of expressions that are perfect for the moment, but I can hear her voice in my head right now, so I had to share.
So true. So true. And as someone who also, had a short stint in social media, I can say we should all be reevaluating how what we're looking at and how we choose to spend our time. Look, you are all just sunshine, and on this dreary day in the nation's capital, you were exactly what I needed and was looking forward to today. So, look, thank you so much for sharing yourselves and your experiences with us, and your time and your courage to be yourselves, and your candidness and your vulnerability are genuinely appreciated by myself, and I'm sure the listeners will as well. I have no doubt, like not one doubt in my mind, that your futures are so brilliantly bright, and I know that your HBA team is cheering you on. And so I can't wait to see what's next for you and watch where you go. And, for those listeners of all ages and all generations, if you know early in career colleagues, take the time to connect, make the time, because I guarantee that you will walk away both with many learnings and learning something new. So thanks so much for listening, everyone, and for sharing your time with us today, and looking forward to the next episode.